What's up, CHFFL? Welcome to the 2025 season. It is that most fabulous of all days, Draft Day 2025. We're going to do a bit of a primer video here, get everybody ready for the draft, everything you need to know, especially focusing on the first two rounds. In fact, we're going to do a mock draft of the first two rounds after briefly going over the previews. See here our tier list for the 2025 season. Have Wes up at the top, Grant and Marty also very strong this year. Swan, Bannis, and Mark down in the B and B plus tier round out your top six, so your favorite playoff teams. Myself, Minnie, and Parker at B minus, leading the underdogs, and then Max, Bill, and Stan down in the C and C plus. Although Bill is very nicely primed to have a good first couple rounds of the draft. We'll see that later. Looking at team by team and conference by conference, the I Think You Should League conference a little bit stronger, having both Wes and Grant. They are highly favored to make the playoffs, with a nice little competition there between Mark, Parker, and myself for the third spot, and Max needing to make up a little bit of ground. Over in the Key and Peele conference, Marty is your favorite, with Swan and Bannis then. Probably your favorites for the second and third playoff spot, but Minnie and Bill could definitely challenge, and Stan having a bit of ground to make up there. This is all with value shift, which is very important this year. You can see the numbers without value shift if you go into the infographic that I uploaded to the Commish Desk channel on the Discord. But you can really see the difference. Wes, starting with him, is hit hard by value shift. He's relying on these second round picks, and early third. So he's got 27, 22, 19, and 16 there. The issue being value shift for this year. And here's our chart. Now, it gets up to 12 total, and that is before we even get to pick 40. Last year's shift was higher. It got up to 14, I think, but the entire graph, the peak, was shifted down draft a little bit, more to the 5th and 6th rounds. This spike here, right after pick 13, as well as this one right beforehand, that's where we're going to see a lot of interesting movement, where suddenly your top tier players are simply not available. So I recommend everybody come through here. You can look team by team, and it's very interesting to turn the shift on and off, because I'm accounting for this value shift. Your picks are all going to go down. Your keepers will stay right where they are. So Grant here with Puka and Jaden Daniels, those are two pretty nice value keepers to start his team with. Pick 5 is before any sort of a tier drop, but then pick 20 here is very much going to be affected by the value shift. And you go through and look through everybody. For myself, I'm pretty happy. As a bit of an outlier, I don't have any picks in the first two rounds, which is one reason why I can safely do a mock and not give anything away. It's just my honest take. But my top 3 assets are all keepers. Bill here, I do want to highlight for later. Picking at pick 10 and then pick 15, he largely avoids the cliff in the value shift, where we have a whole big string of keepers. Let's go ahead and look at, well, let's take a peek at the top keepers by surplus value. In fact, Jamar Chase reminds me, you'll see here asterisks by Max and Mark. That's because they did this first half of this Jamar Chase trade that throws everything off a little bit, because obviously it's not done. Chase, we assume, is going back to Max. Here, I have guessed that Max is sending Garrett Wilson to Mark, and that Mark is going to send Max something else. I think I have it as a 6th round pick. That's just using my value calculation numbers to kind of make that full trade slightly tilted in Max's favor, because Mark was the one who needed it to happen. Either way, that trade is good for both of them, but I couldn't, see, you have Jamar Chase currently still on Mark's roster. I couldn't have his total assets account for that, because I know he's not going to have the number 1 pick. So they both got this Chase effect added and subtracted from their rosters based on who's getting Chase. So looking at the top keepers by surplus value, Chase is your number one, even being kept in the first round. And that's just how highly valued, especially the top 2 or 3 picks, especially number one, are. Nico Collins for me as the second, Grant with Puka. You see that these are all guys who are going to be ranked in the top 10 to 15, more so than guys who have, like Bucky Irving, Banis keeping pick 132. And I mean, he's an ECR, he's a third round pick based on Fantasy Pros rankings, but still not as big of a value. It's all about getting those high end top guys. But a couple of things to note in here. Banis with 2, having Bowers and Bucky Irving. He's set up very nice with keepers. I'm obviously relying on Neighbors and Nico to carry me a good bit. Parker with McBride and Jackson Smith is also in a very good place. So before we shift over to our mock draft, just take a look at all available players, and these rankings may be a little outdated, probably from about a week ago, but for the most part, values don't move when you don't have any preseason games happen. But you look at the capped versus available here. Chase capped, Neighbors capped. Of course, those two are in the first and second round, so that keeper value shifts back pretty quickly. But then it's this section from Nico down to about Chase Brown, where you have just going by the consensus rankings, capped. So 3 of 6, and then this 4 in a row, Achan, Bowers, McConkey, McBride. It's just, there's a huge drop off, and we'll see that effect. Let's skip over now and do our mock draft so we can see how this plays out. Just to orient a little bit with the layout here, we have our best available, and I can look by position. Everything here is just Fantasy Pros, and keepers are removed. So you can see the effect of the value shift and that big drop off. We can peek at our draft board here. Chase and Neighbors are the only keepers we're going to have in these first 2 rounds, but what you're going to see is I see 2 teardrops. One is kind of right here around Marty Mini, and then there are a few guys who to me are 1Bs. You know, they're high second round picks. They're guys that I feel really good getting, but not my studs. And then that runs out right around here, around Bill and Wes, and that's including our top 2 quarterbacks. So if you look here, see running back, you got Bijan, Gibbs, Saquon, McCaffrey. Consider that maybe adding Ashton Junty as your first tier running backs. Running backs are all good. If you're coming in without a running back and you have one of those top picks, you can address that very well. I like Derrick Henry a lot too. I'm a little biased because of the Dynasty League, but I consider him to be a great RB1 as well. And then you have Jacobs and Taylor, who to me are both, I'm fine with them as my RB1 if I'm good at other positions, but they're definitely a tier down. And then we get into this where all these guys, Kamara, Cook, Hampton, Walker, Hall, Connor, I'll throw Henderson in there. I know that the rookies have been getting a lot of rookie fever, so these ECRs may be even higher now, but I see all these guys as kind of in the same tier and really not what I think of as second round picks. You know, I think of them as a third or fourth round pick in a non-keeper league. So running back's gonna fall off a cliff a little bit, and then here is really hit hard wide receiver with Chase already accounted for. You have CD and Jefferson, so 2 of your absolute studs. Amon-Ra, stud. London and AJ Brown are kind of those 1B guys to me. And then you're dropping down to ECR 23 with Higgins. And then you're getting into, again, kind of the same thing where none of these guys to me are my starting wide receiver 1 that I really want on my team. So let's play this out. Max up first, keeping Garrett Wilson. I expect Garrett Wilson to go back to Mark, but Jamar Chase is there. So Max feels strong at the wide receiver position. He has very few picks early here, using the 3.9 for Wilson. He doesn't pick again after this until round 7. So I think it's pretty safe to say Max takes a running back here. I'm going to have him go with Bijan. Wouldn't be crazy if he likes Gibbs, Barkley, or even McCaffrey better. McCaffrey especially kind of makes sense for Max because he's swinging for the fences, right? So McCaffrey's your league winner if he stays healthy and gets back to his form where he can completely carry your team. So Max may go for McCaffrey, just thinking I can have Chase, I can have the by far best receiver and running back, and everything else I just have to have a decent floor. But I'm going to have him take Bijan and go with the consensus. Moving on to Swan. Swan keeping Kyler and Achane. So he's already got a running back and a pretty good one. I like Swan going receiver here. And I know in the past he's had a bit of a favoritism for Jefferson. He's a fan. So every time I do this, I keep seeing Swan as taking Jefferson here. Now this puts Wes in a very interesting spot. He's keeping Laporta, he's got a tight end, and he's keeping Pickens. Pickens is why this is so interesting. Pickens is only flex value, wide receiver 2. You're not really counting on him for a lot. It feels a little awkward to pair CD and Pickens unless you see Pickens as a wide receiver handcuff, which doesn't work out quite the same way as running backs. Now you may think, well, he's keeping a wide receiver, so why wouldn't he just go running back? And Wes could go running back, depending on how he likes the receivers. But this goes to how I was counting before and looking at the draft board. This is a very interesting pick to me, and I could see Wes trading down here if somebody really wanted CD. But Wes has these 2, 4, 7, and 10, and what's going to be going through his head is what stud can I get? We already went through and did the counting, and I think it's going to come to where if he doesn't take a running back here, he can get a Jonathan Taylor or a Josh Jacobs and probably be fine with that as his RB1. If he doesn't take a wide receiver here, I know he likes T. Higgins, but do you want T. Higgins to be your wide receiver 1 when you have the top, ranking in the league in terms of value? You got all these second round picks. Wes thinks this is his year. Does he want T. Higgins to be the best receiver on his roster? I don't think so. And so I think he considers a trade, or I think he has to take CeeDee Lamb here just for the value's sake. I guess he could take Amon-Ra if he really likes him. It's not that much of a reach. Get your guy. I guess for this mock draft, I'm going to have him take Amon-Ra here, but I see Wes trying to make a little bit of a maneuver here the second that, or have something already lined up should Swan take Jefferson. Now, it was a long time, but Wes makes these first 2 rounds very interesting because of all those picks he has in the second. On to Marty, the year of Marty part 2. He's got Jerry, Judy, and the good lad, Magically Delicious, already kept. So Marty definitely liking a running back, and I don't have any inside baseball on who his favorite would be here. Out of Gibbs, Barkley, McCaffrey. Wouldn't be crazy to take John T either, but we'll have him go with Gibbs. Now on to Grant. We got Jaden Daniels and Puka kept, so he's got a good wide receiver. So where's Grant? Grant's second pick is 2-8. So he's running the risk if he doesn't take a running back here, missing this Jacobs Taylor, and he's going to be grabbing one of these guys to be his running back 1, which again, not terrible necessarily, but Grant in the I think you should lead conference against Wes. That's just very interesting who they're going to hang their hat on to be their studs. So looking at best available though, if Wes takes Amon-Ra like I have, I think Grant is going to take CD just for the pure value. But I also could see him rolling with a Barkley or a McCaffrey. Well, it's a tough one. No, but I think he's going to go to just overwhelm with the upside. He's going to take CD. Now on to Parker. Got some strong keepers here with JSN, McBride. So your top 2 tight ends are kept. That's something I also haven't really touched on. I don't know. Kittle may go in these first 2 rounds. I kind of don't see it happening, but then there is a big drop off after that. It's just how people see the tight end position right now. Taking Bowers out in particular kind of kills a lot of the interest. It's like all those years where Kelsey was considered to be someone you would reach for, and if Kelsey was kept, make the tight end position not that interesting. Everybody's gonna grab whichever of the mid-round guys seems most interesting to them. So Parker has one of those tight end advantages, and he has a good wide receiver. His second pick's at 2.5. It's going to be right around where those last other good running backs are going. I'd like Parker to take a running back here. I mean, I love Saquon at this value because I know he basically won me a championship last year, but I think that's a good pick for Parker. Now, Bannis is keeping Bowers, so he has the tight end advantage over everybody. Bucky Irving and Tyrone Tracy. So Bannis has probably the strongest running backs coming into this draft out of anybody. He's looking here. Now, there's no reason he couldn't take McCaffrey or Junty if that's what he wants. His next pick's at 2.6. But I think he's going to get his top receiver here, and it'll be whichever he likes out of London and A.J. Brown better. For some reason, Bannis strikes me as an A.J. Brown kind of guy, which could work out very well for Stan here, who I know likes Drake London. Let's see. Stan's draft board, no second round pick, and then using his 5 and 8 on keepers. So his next pick's going to be 3.8. He has Rashee Rice, Bo Nix, Truba. Rashee Rice suspended for the first few games. Stan here is another interesting one because he could take. It really wouldn't surprise me if he took running back or receiver, but I like him. I think he's going to take Drake London. I know he's had him in the past. So Bill here is then a benefactor of, he's got Brian Thomas, so he's got his wide receiver 1, and he can get his running back 1, whichever of these guys he likes. We'll have him take McCaffrey. Marty's second first-round pick. He drafted Gibbs earlier, right? He's already got 2 receivers. He can go with best player available. Wouldn't be crazy to me if we see our first quarterback go off the board here. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think Marty's going to take another running back here and just be absolutely loaded. That's the formula I had for the championship last year with Saquon and Gibbs, 2 first-round running backs. So he could take Junty or Henry, can take the rookie. So now Minnie's got his back-to-back here. Jordan Mason. Minnie has basically no help from keepers. And you see here, I just I don't love T. Higgins here as a wide receiver 1. I see no matter what, Minnie taking Derrick Henry, and you see how I said that around here is where your first cutoff is. And that depends on where you see Henry. I obviously like him a little more than consensus. I don't know if first round pick feels great there. But after Minnie takes him, now you're really looking at nothing that super excites you. I feel like Minnie is going to take a quarterback here then, because not super thrilled with any of our flex options, unless he takes Tyreek. Opinions on Tyreek Hill are all over the place this year, right? After a 1 down year, but he also can win you leagues, and especially in the CHFFL, give our big touchdown bonuses. So I wouldn't be shocked if he takes Tyreek Hill here, but I kind of like him to take last year's, not regular MVP, but fantasy MVP, Lamar Jackson. Now we come to Mark here, who will not have Chase, but I do expect him to have Garrett Wilson as my guess. There'll be 2 wide receivers. He has Kyron, he has a low-end RB1 already in the books for his first pick. Looking at Higgins, Allen, Jacobs, Hill, Taylor. this is where it really starts to, I don't have as much input because I don't know how people are going to feel about all of these guys, but I start to see this conglomeration that, is there too much of a difference? Is there too much pressure even? I think Mark is going to take best available here. He's going to take Higgins, just with Kyron solidifying that running back spot a little more than his wide receiver spot will be solidified. So now we come to Bill, and this is where I was highlighting earlier that I think Bill is in the ideal draft spot for himself, because I do like either Minnie or Mark or Marty. I like one quarterback to go in here. I guess two could, in which case Bill could kind of fall outside of that cliff. But I like Bill taking Josh Allen here. I know he's drafted quarterbacks high at least once. I think he drafted Hurts high last year. He's already got a solid RB1, which he's definitely going to have after the first round. He's got Brian Thomas. And suddenly Bill is someone who, even though his draft board isn't really great, no 4 or 5, no 7, he's now got all the pieces. He'll have an advantage at quarterback. He'll have good running back, good receiver. So I like Bill taking Allen there. And now here's where he's going to have 3 picks before we're done. 3 out of these, what do we got? 8. And what does he do? So he needs a running back. So here I assume he's going to take his favorite of Taylor and Jacobs. And that's going to be his RB1, which, I mean, that's fine. They're both good. They're both ranked as RB1s on Fantasy Pros, the RB 10 and 11 respectively. I think Wes will go for Taylor over Jacobs. And we'll see what happens though with these next couple of picks. Parker took Saquon in the first round. Already got decent wide receiver, great tight end. Probably would rather get more receiver help here. I didn't think I even commented earlier, but Charbonnet is a very intriguing guy to have, just because of all the reports that, you know, he's being good. He could eat into Kenneth Walker's workload, even assuming both are healthy. So for Parker here, I could see him going whoever he thinks is best available. I kind of like him to swing for the fence with Tyreek. Just intuition. I'm playing ball with Parker for a long time now. I think he goes Tyreek there if that's the board he's looking at. Now, back to Bannis. Got A.J. Brown in the first round. Got his 2 running backs taken care of, and Bannis' team looks fairly strong at this point, right? What was his ranking? 270, but these picks fell in pretty good spots, I think. I think Bannis, with the way this mock is going, putting himself in a very good position. Let's just say that. Top pick, this is a very tough spot for him though. This is very awkward. He's already pretty good at running back. Your best available is running back. And then you start to get down to these receivers. His next pick's going to be 3-7. So this is my thing, right? Who's the wide receiver he's possibly looking at 3-7? Someone down here. Is Waddle or Devonta Smith that far back from Adams and Evans? Adams has his questions in a new situation, which I guess also is potentially, you know, new situation is variance. Variance is good. Evans is Mr. continually, yearly underrated. I think Bannis is going to go with one of these receivers. Give him what Bannis seems to be building in my little theoretic world here is Bowers gives him the big positional advantage. Everything else is going to be really solid. So we'll go with solid Mike Evans. Now back to Wes. He's got a running back position filled. Really good receiver. Second receiver. I think Wes is pretty happy that Josh Jacobs also comes to him here. Now, his running back position, while he may not have a single stud, getting 2 top 12 guys would be a good get for him. That actually worked out better than I was anticipating. Yeah, Wes has taken Jacobs, and he's pretty happy with that. Now back to Grant. He's got 2 receivers. Grant really needs a running back and is sighing that Wes took Jacobs right in front of him, because Grant's next pick is 3-5. And it is very possible that these 6 are all gone there. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I don't think there are many keepers down here. So he needs to grab one. It's just a question of who his favorite is. If he goes for a rookie a little early. He's like Kamara in the past. Things are a little different now. We'll have him take Kamara. Back to Marty. Marty's got his fearsome 2 running back duo, 1 good wide receiver, and a good flex receiver. I think Marty's probably taking Adams. This is a place where he could reach for Kittle. Who's your top quarterback on the board? He could reach for Hurts, just to fill out and give those positional advantages here. Marty can really do whatever he wants. He's coming back up at 3-4. Possible that either of those guys are still on the board, so if there's someone he really wants, he's got to get him here. I think he'll go with Adams. Back to Wes. Now has his 2 running backs, 2 receivers. He's starting to really fill out his whole starting situation. Could see him taking Hurts here to get both the tight end and quarterback filled out pretty well. This to me is just such a dead zone in terms of flex, especially because he already has Laporta, so Kittle's not really going to be an option. I don't know how he feels about Marvin Harrison Jr. after a disappointing rookie season. Yeah, we'll say that. We'll say that Wes takes Jalen Hurts here. He's got his whole starting lineup minus flex filled in at that point. And he's coming up on a pick at 3-3. And just thinking, again, unless he really likes James Cook or one of these other guys. I know he's liked Brees in the past. But I just think whoever he would take out of a flex spot here is not going to be significantly different than who he gets at 3-3. So I like him taking Hurts. And then finally back to Swan with Jefferson and Achane leading things. Murray already filling out the quarterback position. Actually a spot where George Kittle could go. I think Swan also has a pick at 3-2, so nothing would really surprise me with what he decided to do. See him taking... Swan likes upside guys. He always has a roster that can score 200 points a week. I think he's going to go with DJ Moore. A new scheme. So that's it. That's our mock draft for rounds 1 and 2. Here's your final board. Max taking Bijan. Biggest surprises, I would say based on how things go, Josh Jacobs falling to Wes here is nice for him. If this is how it actually played out. I think Grant taking Kamara, this was probably the weakest spot. Again, if things play out this way. Otherwise, I hope this was insightful to actually kind of walk through and analyze what could happen at every pick. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in a few hours for the actual draft, where I will do the exact same thing and sit here and analyze what you do, because I have no picks in the first 2 rounds. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon.